Hey, welcome to another episode of Becoming a TechnoWizard. My journey to become a product designer, and finally, I started making some more progress on this Quell, my client's Quell community portal dashboard, virtual community center, virtual Austin outpost, whatever you want to call it. We haven't established a name, which we need to do, but started making some progress on the different views that I'm gonna have, and I honestly wanted to make a lot more progress because I have a lot more other pages to cover. Well, not really. Most of the other pages are basically done. I just have to add a few more things based on the feedback. But this was the major part that we had to that I had to complete. So here we go. Let me show y'all what I got. I'm gonna share my whole screen because I'm gonna go into some other things later, show y'all where I get some inspiration from. But boom, look at all these iterations I got. So one thing I wanted to show off real quick before I get into the actual stuff is I figured out some cool ways to use Figma for prototyping. Move my face out the way. So in Figma, you can go over here to the prototype tab and mess around with prototypes, and it's actually fairly in depth. Oops, excuse me. So if I go ahead and preview, I guess that button doesn't work. You only do it to here. I was trying to see if I can use that and learn a new thing. But yeah, if you actually preview, yeah, I'll show you some things that I learned you can do in Figma. There we go. All right, so I think I showed this before. So you can do a scroll thing. There we go. So that's what I wanted to figure out too, if it works. That's my other thing. So I did this thing where when you're hovering over something, it moves, the page. And really what's all that's happening is that it's moving, it's switching from one page, like I just duplicated the page. There's a neat feature which I found they did this in principle too, but where if you duplicate something and basically, these different elements, you have all the same elements, when you move them, they have a thing called smart animation. So it automatically moves everything that you moved from one artboard to the next, and it, just smoothly transfers all those animations. But yeah, so I like the fact that you can do all this. So I'm definitely going to fix this up some more in the actual one, but just had to show that off. Okay. So this is what I'm trying to figure out too. I have a mouse enter um thing going on here. So if you enter into that, you said I'm pointing like you can see, but this faded box area, if you enter there, it should move you up to the next thing. Because what I want to show is that on the boundary of each, I keep trying to point, but yeah, on the boundaries for each of these boundaries, I want the user to be able to like just move their mouse over, and this page automatically starts scrolling. So that way, like they don't have to physically click and pull just like in the Unilever site, which is cool, but I think this is a little bit more natural, a little bit less effort you have to go through. So yeah, I wanted it to be to the point where if you enter like if you I keep trying to use my hands, but if you enter like that's why I want to do. But I'm gonna use this side. So let's say you're this far from it. It starts panning over slowly, and then when you get closer and closer, it starts panning over faster and faster. So I wanted to do that so that um, you can explore the page more fluidly. So if you mean to just go on this one, maybe it starts panning over, but it's not too much. But that then again, that might be the problem. Maybe that's why Unilever didn't do this like automatic scroll, because if you're trying to use one, if you're trying to go to one of these cards on the boundaries, are you gonna want users to um to automatically start scrolling when they just want to use one of these cards on the boundaries? So if you wanted to fix that, you can. The only thing I could think of is having it so that either one, it doesn't scroll when you're on a card, which would be kind of annoying for like example for these cards, like they're already on the edge. So you wanted to scroll, you would have to. It'll be weird. Another idea is that you can have it scroll only when it's at a certain point, like at a you can have the boundary at a much smaller portion than what I was thinking. Maybe like, 20 pixels or 40 pixels or whatever, so that the last boundary, when they already at the edge, then it starts scrolling. But if you do that, then you're most likely going to miss out. Like, well, I was going to say that a lot of users will most likely miss that feature. Like, they won't realize that you can scroll because it's so far to the edge. But then again, you can fix that by having a tutorial. So first time people come into the site, just say, hey, move your mouse all the way to the edge, and it automatically scrolls to the next page or whatever. At the same time, some people I hear don't like, kind of automated scrolling. Usually you hear that on the phone, which I understand, but on a desktop, some people say it makes them dizzy and all that stuff. So I don't know. Ideally we would want to test it, but we don't have much time left. Really, we won't be able to do another round. And if I could try to do something unofficial, just call up some participants and see, what they think, but that's going to be unofficial, and it's already like a whole lot to do before we end this. So kind of sucks, but those are the options we have there, and we can always pass it on to the client and just give them the full amount of suggestions. So we have to give future recommendations anyway, so we can always point that out there. But yeah, I like that I figured a lot of this out. I think it's pretty cool. Ideally, I want to see if I want to test this out for most of these cards to see how it looks on the thing. But yeah, that's that. So what I also figured out is I've been testing a lot of kind of small iterations of like using a nav bar at the top, switching the sides of these filter and login stuff, trying to move things around to see what feels right. So I kind of landed on this one here. So in this one, you see that you can, let me get the other stuff out the way. So you see you can, there's more spacing for one. I put there's more branding. So I put, the actual brands here, and it's in a different color. Even though it's a grayscale, I want to make it apparent that this will be a different color, so that, when we pass it on, whatever these colors, these other ones are, this is always going to be a different color, like white. And these other ones could be gray or even like multicolored, but this one should be a different color because we want to make sure that, their brand is passed on. Their brand is very apparent on this website. Another thing is just cutting down on all the other buttons that you can do. So I still want to do change view. I was thinking about putting these on in the nav bar area, like, stuff like that. But it was just very crowded up here. Like, you have to put like things like account. You need their search bar. You need, their branding. You need the filters. I was thinking about taking this filters out, like you saw here. But again, it was like a lot of buttons then. It becomes a lot of buttons in the main area. I didn't want to do all that. So this seemed to be the best kind of, compromise between use of buttons around the page as well as the nav bar. And a filter, when you hit that, moves the page over, and then you have all your filters on the side. And I straight stole this basically from this really cool design here. Look at that, that's beautiful. I won't be able to do all that probably, but like, it's cool that when you select things, like if you select a filter or deselect a filter, it pops them out here. You sort, it moves it around here, stuff like that. I was just looking at this. This is like so cool. But yeah, I basically stole that. So when you hit filter, it pops up here. I put, this apply thing because for my interviews, they like the fact that you can see, what's being applied. And it was really hard to figure out where to put all those tags. Like, I was thinking about just listing them all out here or down here or something like that. But again, it would just clutter up the place. So I figured, might as well just put as minimal as possible. It just tells you that things are applied. Like there's filters applied here. And then when you hit filters, you actually be able to see which ones are applied. I was thinking about stealing, the little dot they had there. I think that was pretty cool, pretty unique way of doing it, putting little dots instead of checkboxes. Because checkboxes are so old now, and they're not really accessible, right? Because a checkbox is such a small target that when you try to go and select it, even on a mouse and keyboard, it's a small target, right? Ideally, you would want the entire word to be selectable. So I think if you put like a dot there, it'll indicate that, hey, that you can select the whole word. and maybe even reinforce that with animation so that, you know, when you hover over it, that whole word just like bold is boldened or gets bigger or something like that. So you know that the whole thing is interactive or outline, underlined, or and you could do any number of animations to show that the word is clickable. Um, and you can do the same thing too if you had a checkbox, but the checkbox reinforces using the checkbox, not typing the word, not, you know, selecting the word. So something that we're gonna put in the thing in the yeah. But when you hit filter, the whole page moves over, so it doesn't, you know, cover like the cards. Like this is it will be the same interaction. So if you go over here, the page will move. Same thing if you go over here, the page will move. And filter, you know, moves all those cards over. So you know, you don't end up covering up the cards. And this animation, they made it a little bit smaller, but that wouldn't really work because these are going to have words, these are going to have paragraphs, all this stuff. So yeah. So yeah, I also did, I was thinking about using chips again instead of, you know, all these different options, you know, have these chips and you can scroll through and select them. I'm not sure how that would turn out. Ideally, again, we will test that, but I might just have to pick, I might probably just pick this one just because it's consistent with everything else. Um, but I do like the tags too because I feel like it's more accessible than checkboxes and stuff like that. Maybe you can even see with here. But again, it does look a little bit more clustered. You know, there's a lot. It looks like a lot more going on than if you just have, you know, simple words and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Another positive though with using chips is that you can put these as all different colors, or maybe even or maybe just leave the boundaries as different colors, so you have more of that popping, you know, more of that awesome kind of color and just, you know, aesthetics to it. So that's something for the UI team to think of. I would probably just include both of them in the if possible in the handoff. So give the UI designers kind of a little bit of choice there, but I'm also playing around with different types of categories, so can list out, you know, the LGBTIQ, you know, the spectrum differently, and then I looked up, you know, all the different things that will be in the spectrum, and it was a lot of stuff, even more than this. So I'm not sure if we're able to include all that, or if Clayton wants to, or if it's really, you know, important, because if you the more tags that you include, the more kind of work it's going to be to make it all like make sense to multiple people. And that's the biggest problem with using a lot of tags. Like this is already a lot. Um, but the spectrum specifically is really kind of, I don't want to say troublesome, but it's difficult because not everybody, even within the spectrum, you know, identifies the same way as everybody else. Like some people don't like identifying as queer. Some people, you know, do, they think is, you know, useful for everybody. And there's a number of examples with that throughout the whole thing. So it's difficult. So that's something to talk to with Clayton. You can always see his thing on it and his word goes. But yeah, I think it would be useful to have, you know, a separate category for the spectrum, so that, you know, when you select things here, you get results that have to do with just that part of the spectrum, or just those parts of the spectrum. Same thing for needs and services. So, you know, the big difference between these two is that it's just here, it just puts all the tags under one community section, while here it separates it by saying, hey, do you want to look for things just for this part of the spectrum? Or, hey, do you want to just look for these needs and services? And you can combine and you know, modify as much as you want between these two sections here. So yeah, I think that would be useful. And then I started finally figuring out the other views. Couldn't figure out a good list view. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to go with this. Just too much stuff. Even if I elongate it, you know, cards, it just doesn't look as good as I thought it would be. Um, but I like the fact that you can kind of easily put like the badges and the stars there. I'm not sure how you would include that, the badges and stars in like these regular lists, but anyways. So this list, I'm probably not going to use this either, but I like the fact that, you know, hey, when you hover over something, it will show like more information on the side. And then here you can click like something that says, you know, go to profile, and then you'll go to the main profile from that I showed earlier, or in the last couple of videos. And then here you have more information at once. I think that's really cool. And then you have a bigger image that you can see, which is really nice as well. The problem though is that it's a lot of information. So if somebody's just coming on this page, not only is it a lot of information, but it's a relatively small amount of results that you can show at once. So it's a lot of words. So people will probably just skim through the titles anyways. Um, and then there's only 6 results at a time. So you would have to be scrolling a lot to find certain types of information. So I think that's kind of troublesome with this version. One thing I was thinking about is having something like this, and then when you hover over it, instead of doing this, it expands it like into this. So you would have a whole bunch of titles and organization names, and then you hover over it, and it expands out to have like a picture, description, stuff like that. So that way you can easily kind of glance through everything. Um, I don't know. And then another idea I had was this. All these are pretty much stolen from this website I was looking at. Yeah, I was just looking through here, the different types of lists. So, the best artists steal. But yeah, this you'd be able to have a lot more information, fit a lot more information. You can even separate into columns. I mean, technically, this could be all the same columns, but I think it would be more useful to have different columns. You can have more information. So this would be like a live feed of new things popping up in the community. This would be a list of all your businesses, and this would be all your services that people might need. So it's easily to go in there. So this is a high chance of using that. And then this method I think was pretty good too. Gives a high amount of information at once, so you can see their name, the organization, there's a little description, even though it's fairly short, as well as the support goes. This is something I couldn't really include in any of these other ones, which I know our client really wants. So this might be the winning one. And because of that, that's why I also kind of started doing these pages showing some pagination things. Again, I got this from just looking through some list of pagination. It was surprisingly difficult to find like a good pagination. Like the first one that I might have deleted it. The first one I did was not good at all. It was very ugly. I didn't know what I was doing, but a surprising amount of effort goes into making a good pagination process. I think this is passable. This is still probably a little bit clunky. Like there's a lot of things going on here, but these are all like high recommendations, high like stuff that you should put. Maybe the UI team can fix it up, but best of what I could do. So the next thing I have to do for the list is see what it looks like when you hit filter. Like what I'm thinking, if you hit filter on this one, it will cut out this information. If you hit filter on this one, maybe it cut out either support goals or maybe like dates, maybe the organization name, and it will just have the title, the description, and the support goals. I think that'll be better, but I don't know. We'll see. Just playing around with it. And then I just now started the map view as well. This one I have no idea what I'm doing here, but I think this would be a good starting point. Probably not gonna put this 100 freaking things on here, but from my last interview from the Divergent ones, all of our participants really liked the fact that you had a map on here, so I wanted to make sure we bring back that feature. And but I'm not sure what to do like with all this space. Like maybe just leave it here, maybe just keep it minimal. But something bothers me, like there's something missing. I don't know what, but I have to play around with it and see. And again, I think this is gonna be easy with the filters. Is like when you hit filter, all that information pops up and all this goes away. So you can just focus on those filters and then close it and go back to this part here. And an interesting part about the filters is that people were saying that, I kind of mentioned it before, but people were saying that, or like some of the best research shows that when you use filters, you should like the best practices is that when you select something in the sidebar, it should also pop up like in the front, like somewhere like on the front page, like at the top or something that shows you, hey, these are the filters applied, so you can easily select or deselect them. And these are, you should also maintain it in the spot that it was here. So if you select like nonprofits, keep that here, put a mark by it, and then up here it'll be like nonprofits, filters applied nonprofits, so that you can hit if you want to if you want to close that filter, you can just close it from the top without having to open the filters again. But if you keep if you keep the location of it instead of making this disappear and putting it back over here, then it means that people can come back to this filters and know where it is. You basically don't want to move things around. You want to have it in both locations. But the problem with this design is that if you put it in like the front page, it becomes really cluttered. This is a full screen thing, and if you don't have a full screen, if it's just like one, then now, when I say one, I mean like a e-commerce site where it's like you have your nav bar, you have all your results on one page, and your sidebar with the filters. Typical e-commerce page. We can do that, but it's not what this is. That's not what this is about. I'm saying, and I think that will take away from like some of the delight that you can have from a full screen kind of Unilever experience. But yeah, that's what I got so far. So just gonna finish those up and then finish up, redesigning, not even redesigning, but just adding to these dashboards. I got to create oh yeah, this is for life's change, like this part right here. I also have to create a dashboard for the admin panel dashboard. So you got to figure out what that's going to be. That's going to look like. Want to add things to this page. This is the business dashboard. So showing, again, this is going to be another table showing, the different supportive initiatives. We got to fix these names up too, make it a little bit more apparent, like what's going on, what page you're on and stuff like that. So a number of things to fix that, mostly small stuff, but it's a lot of pages. So got to make more progress more quickly. Got to stop messing around with all these iterations maybe. But making progress nonetheless, and hopefully can complete everything in time to a satisfactory level. But yeah, thanks again for watching. It's a weird sound. Let me know what you think as always. If you learned something, if you have any feedback, I would highly appreciate it. Otherwise, have a nice day. Like, comment, subscribe. See ya. Bye-bye.